Hi, everybody. So today I thought it would be fun to go over the movies that I have seen in the month of August. And I thought I'd just do it sort of this more so relaxed style as opposed to the edited video, and see if any of you guys wanted to maybe ask some questions or be involved at all. I'll have the chat room open and you can do that if you want. So here we go. Okay, so I saw a lot in August. This is going to be a pretty interesting video. And there is one movie that I can't talk about that I saw in August because it is still embargoed, and that is Sully. So you will hear my opinion about that this weekend. So this upcoming weekend. So that should be pretty fun. And there we go. Okay, so now we are going to start. So these are new releases that I saw in the month of August. Some of them I saw at home, some of them I saw at the theater. And I did at least 2 days of double headers. So I got 4 movies, including Sully, in 2 days. So that was pretty fun. So let's get started. Let's see, what's one of the first? I kind of have them not in the most, I don't necessarily have them in order that I saw them, but let's start with Cafe Society. And this was the latest Woody Allen film, and I thought it was really charming. I enjoyed it. It was funny. It had some misses for sure. There were definitely a couple jokes that really missed, but I thought that Jesse Eisenberg was a good sort of Woody Allen foil. And they had Woody Allen doing the narration, which I did not think worked at all. But it looked really pretty. I liked all of the costumes, and the dialogue was sharp. Steve Carell's really good in it. Kristen Stewart is really good in it. I know everyone thinks she's a horrible actress because of Twilight, but I actually think she has some talent outside of the Twilight franchise. I think she can be good. I really liked her in Still Alice. I thought she was excellent as this sort of daughter who is the only one who can really be honest with her mother. I thought she was quite good, and so I thought that she was good here. I thought you could see why she was so enticing for both Steve Carell and for Jesse Eisenberg. She's kind of the shit's a goddess kind of character, and then so is Blake Lively. Was stunning in this movie. She looks so beautiful. She's not given a ton to do, but she's good at what she's asked to do. I mean, she just has. There's something about Blake Lively that just has a really old soul. There's something about her that whether it's Age of Adeline. Or this movie that I don't know, she just works in these, I think, period pieces really well, and she wears clothes so well. She's so pretty, I think, and so yeah, it's an enjoyable film. I mean, it says something that I enjoyed it because it was one of the worst theater experiences I've ever had. There was this woman who was talking and making comments. There were like 6 women that had all come together, and they were just so loud, so obnoxious, and this one lady was right in front of me, and she literally had her phone out the entire movie. And I'm actually pretty chill about stuff like that. Like, if somebody checks their phone, for a second, I'm like, whatever, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. But this was literally the whole time. And I couldn't believe it. And, you expect that kind of behavior from teenagers or from kids or something. But no, but this was women much older than me, probably 20 years older than myself, 20, 30 years older than myself. And they were just loud and annoying and very frustrating. So the fact I enjoyed the movie despite all of that, I think says quite a bit about it. Oh, and I loved, shoot, what's his name? Oh my gosh, my brain just went, the guy who played Corey Stoll. I love Corey Stoll. I have such a crush on Corey Stoll. I just think he's so charming. I've liked him ever since Midnight in Paris. He was so good in that. He is hilarious in this as Jesse Eisenberg's mob boss brother. I thought he was so good, very funny, and I don't know. I just think he's so like handsome and funny and charming, and I like to see him get even more parts. He was in Ant-Man, and I thought he was good in that, and so yeah, I enjoyed it. So then I'll go and talk about another not Woody Allen, another Blake Lively role that I saw, and I saw The Shallows. And this is a little sort of horror movie, I guess, thriller. I don't know. I don't know where you break the line between horror and thriller. I don't really get it. But this is a shark movie, and I thought that they did a lot of clever things, kind of like when she's looking at her phone, the way they showed it on the screen. I thought that was actually pretty clever. I thought that she was again quite good. I thought that there was a lot of tension, particularly when you didn't see the shark and you didn't know what was coming. But then when you saw the shark, I thought it looked really cheesy, and so that kind of took me out of the movie a lot. And then it gets kind of crazy towards the end, where she's like setting the shark on fire at a certain point, and just gets pretty silly. But I still enjoyed it. I think it's definitely worth seeing if you like that kind of horror / thriller type movie. It's solid, entertaining film. So, yeah, The Shallows. And I did not see Don't Breathe, in case any of you are wondering, because of the one particular scene that I didn't want to see. So, I've heard it's really good though. Okay, then I saw Pete's Dragon. I think that was the next one, I think. Anyway, I saw Pete's Dragon, and this was one I was actually really excited for, because the reason why I was excited is because it took a Disney property with all these remakes, but it did it on a very small budget. It had an indie director. It was somebody who was really trying to do something different and unique, and wasn't just this sort of more cash grab kind of mentality of the some of these remakes have been. And I don't know, so that just really intrigued me, and everything I read about him and everything that the interviews that I read really made me feel like he was invested in this property. And I'm not I like the 1977 film, but I don't love it. And so this just made me want to see it. And then when the reviews came in, so I was really pumped for it. I thought it looked like a great movie, and you know what? I loved it. This is in my top 5 of the year. I just thought it was so sweet and lovely, and just I loved the characters, and I loved the simple story of a boy and his dragon and them bonding, and it's just the kind of movie that really won me over. To me, it was more a remake of E.T. or a remake of Old Yeller or Black Stallion or Where the Red Ferns Grow, Sounder, those kind of movies. I'm not saying it's necessarily as good as those, but it felt like those to me, and I haven't felt that way to a movie for a long, long time. And so that was very, very refreshing to have a movie that just felt so old-fashioned, and I just loved the child actors were wonderful. All the actors were wonderful, and you were just rooting for them. And I liked the bond between Pete and Elliot. It was really sweet, and it was just a lovely little movie. So I think that Pete's Dragon, it's a shame that it didn't do better, because I think it did a lot of the things that the BFG did, but I think it did it better because the story was just tighter than the BFG. There wasn't as many times when I was kind of waiting for something to happen. And it is a formula story, there's no doubt about it, but it executed that formula really, really well. And sometimes I think that we think that it has to be sort of more complicated, but with both this movie and the Peanuts movie, which was one of my favorite movies of last year, they kept it old-fashioned, they kept it simple, and I just love it. So there you go. So Pete's Dragon, That is one of my favorites of the summer, for sure. One of my favorites of the year for Pete's Dragon. So then I saw Florence Foster Jenkins. This is Meryl Streep, and she plays this woman who is, and if you have, it looks like there's 3 watching. If you want to make comments on the chat room, don't hesitate. But this is with Meryl Streep, and she plays this woman who is this benefactor to the arts in the 1920s, I think. 1920s, yeah, and or 30s. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But anyway, it's really interesting because, like, on the surface, the movie is just sort of a feel-good story of it's sort of similar to Eddie the Eagle, about like a person with no talent who like manages to persevere and still like express their talent and express their love for what they're doing. But I thought that there were some like really subversive elements that made it more interesting than that, because their marriage between her and Hugh Grant was sort of different. She had syphilis, and that she got from her first husband, and so they couldn't have normal relations, I guess. And so they had this agreement that he would have his own apartment and his own life, and then she would kind of, she supported that. But I also felt that that they really did love each other. So it was just a unique kind of situation, unique environment, and sort of their relationship. I couldn't tell sometimes whether because he was so tender to her at times, but then there were other times when he wasn't honest with her. And so I know, I just thought it was sort of an interesting, weird relationship for a movie like this. You don't expect there to be something like that. And Meryl Streep is so good in it. She is fantastic. You really are rooting for her, and you don't really know. You don't know if she believes all these yes men that are around her, if she knows that she sucks. Sometimes it seems like she does. She's just so in love with the music that she does it anyway. But then there's other times when it seems like she does believe them. And so I think that there was more there than the typical type of this type of movie there. And then, of course, all the production values are great. The costumes are great. Everything, the music is wonderful. Hi, Justin. And so, yeah, it's one, like, nobody has seen this movie. And so I encourage you to see it. I liked it. I think it's better than you would get by just the trailers. There's a little more to it. And I think that Meryl Streep will get nominated for Best Actress, because it's definitely the best acting I've seen all year by a female, for sure. And she's just great in the role, and so she deserves it. So hi, Brandon. Oh, look. And so maybe I just had a request for Kubo. So maybe I'll talk about that one next. But Florence Foster Jenkins, underrated. I think people should see it. I think you'd like it. But so Kubo and the Shoestrings. Let's talk about it. So yes, I saw Kubo and the Shoestrings, and I really loved it. I mean, it is wonderful. And the things I think that are the 2 strongest about Kubo and the Shoestrings. The first thing is I just loved Kubo as a character, and he is just so warm and lovely. The way that it starts out with him, he's sort of the caretaker of his mother, who has has like an Alzheimer's kind of thing. And he's just so sweet to his mother, and he's so sweet with the people in the village. And he tells these stories and has these powers, sort of origami with this it's not a guitar, but Japanese guitar. I can't think of what it's called. And Brandon says, I thought it was great. It felt dark at times. Yes, it definitely does have dark moments, as all Leica films do. But I appreciated the embrace of the Japanese mythology. It's not something I know a ton about, to be honest. So I'm not one to be able to be like, wow, that was an accurate portrayal or not. But I was drawn in, mainly because I liked Kubo so much as a character. Every time that he would smile, every time that he would, I don't know, just have an expression, I was invested in him as a character. And so that made the whole movie work for me because I liked him so much and because it is so beautiful. And there were things that I have never seen before in stop motion. The way that the paper would move and create a ship or create animals, or just amazing. It just continually surprised you. It continually just was just exciting in that way. And I liked the fact that you had a fantasy story where there wasn't a clear objective. There was, because they were looking for the armor, but it's not like it was like, here you have to go here and find this here, and then you have to go here and find this here, and then they have to go over there. I was never really sure exactly like where they were going, where it was going to all end up, what they were doing. And I liked that. I thought that made it unpredictable. I thought it made it cool and just different. It wasn't like, say, a Lord of the Rings where there's this clear goal. We know where they're going. We know how they're going to get there. And we kind of know what they're going to face. And this, or like with Harry Potter, where you have the Horcruxes, and there's this sort of clear, sort of, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, and so I just liked that this was sort of a little bit more sort of kind of wherever the storytellers were going to take us, a little more open-ended. So that was really cool. So, yeah, but you're right, Brandon. I mean, it definitely is darker, and it definitely deals with deep themes of death and loss and loneliness. It definitely deals with loneliness as a theme, which I really appreciated. But it's all about the power of storytelling and the power of family, and just the power of Kubo as a person to persevere, and and just goodness. And that's what you want in a story like this, is just a character like Frodo, like so many other characters. You just have to kind of like the lead character, and if you can like the lead character, or Harry or whatever, then that goes a long way in liking the movie. So yeah, Kubo and the Two Strings. It's my second favorite of the summer, one of my favorites of the year so far. Okay, so well, I talked about Florence Foster Jenkins. I talked about, so one that I saw at home that has gotten tons of like rave reviews, people love it, is The Lobster. And that is a film that I didn't really care for, but I understand why people like it. It's very creative about this hotel. It's this dystopian society that you check in and you have 45 days to find a spouse, or you get turned into an animal. That's sort of the thing. The problem is that's a creative premise, but I felt like it was so repetitive. Just the same situation happened over and over and over, and they kind of repeat the same point over and over and over again, to the point where the last 30 minutes I was just done. I was like, I'm so tired of this, and every character is so flat emotionally, and I know that's the aesthetic they were going for, but I just didn't care about any of these people. They were just so blah that I don't know, I didn't like it. But I understand why others like it. So there you go. So that's The Lobster for me. Okay, so let's talk about a mainstream film that I saw, of course, is Suicide Squad in May. If any of you in the chat room, if you put down if you liked Suicide Squad, what do you think of it, if you saw it? And for me, I thought that Suicide Squad was basically about the same as Batman v Superman. I think I liked it a little bit less than Batman v Superman, because I feel like I still hold that Batman v Superman was solid for the first 30, 45 minutes or so. And then it to me, I hated the ending so much that it really turned me off. But hey Joe. And so Suicide Squad, I thought it was kind of boring. I was expecting all of this, excitement, all these fun characters, and those characters are there, but literally like the first 20 minutes is just Amanda Waller sitting at a table, going through a binder, looking at, giving us stats on comic books, like comic book heroes or villains, I guess in this case. It was like, well, that's boring. Hey, I love it. We're getting some activity on the chat. If you guys saw Suicide Squad, what did you think? Put on there. And so I was just kind of like, when is the story going to start? And then the story finally starts, and I just thought it was blah. It didn't do anything for me, and it just kept. You could just tell when they had the reshoots, because like that lighter material was just kind of wedged in, and they kept wanting us to believe that this group was a family. And I never bought it because I didn't see enough time with them really bonding together. Like, like there's a scene where Deadshot refuses to shoot Harley Quinn. And they had literally spent like 3 minutes together. Like, I did not buy that scene at all, that he wouldn't do that. And yes, maybe he never shoots women or something, but I just didn't feel like I felt like they were trying, especially at the end when El Diablo was like trying to say like no one messes with my family or something, and I'm like, these people haven't had any real interactions together. And so I don't know, I just didn't think that it worked, is what they were trying to sell. And so for me, I guess I just think that first part of Batman v Superman was strong enough that I think it's better, even though I hated the ending, that I think it's better than Suicide Squad, which I really didn't like any portion of it that much. The first part was boring, and the second part, I just thought, I just didn't just didn't believe that this group was a family. So that was my problem, and it just seemed really, really messy as far as tone and plot and everything else. So yeah, that's my thoughts. So I got some comments, great comments. So Joe says, I need to catch up with some of these other movies that have come out, especially with Kubo. But yeah, Suicide Squad was a big letdown. Yeah, it's really frustrating because, I mean, I think we make it too complicated. I mean, all you really needed to do was have these bad guys face off against somebody who's more bad. And then that's it. Like it shouldn't, I just don't understand why that's so complicated, but I don't make movies, so but yeah, Emily, I agree with you. I hated Suicide Squad. And then we said 3 Frank F. Wow, it's rare that I hear someone say they prefer Batman v Superman over Suicide Squad. And Emily says that was the problem I had too. So Brandon Cooper says, I haven't seen Suicide Squad. I'm more into Marvel movies. Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, but I try to be open-minded. I was so disappointed. I think I talked about Batman the Killing Joke last month, but I was so hoping that would be the DC movie I could, really get behind. But man, I hated that even worse than Batman v Superman and even worse than Suicide Squad. I just thought that was so offensive. But Joe says, Chris Stuckman said that they should have gone up against some kind of extremist group, which I think would have been a lot more sensible. Yeah, I think that would have been good. Or just like anybody who's worse than them, because they didn't really seem that bad. Like because they weren't like really selling us so these were the worst of the worst, in my opinion. That whole beginning part with Amanda Waller on the table, like it felt like these were just kind of low-level bad guys. And anyway, so I think maybe, so that was part of the problem too. But if, I don't know, if they'd had somebody like, there's so many great villains in the DC world, like if they'd had someone like Bane, if you weren't going to use the Joker, like Bane in Dark Knight Rises, like he's so intimidating and so scary. And so somebody like that, I think it could have worked as somebody that they would have to get behind. Plus the fact that it doesn't make any sense that they're gathering this group of people to fight metahumans, this group of villains, but most of them aren't metahumans. I mean, what does Harley Quinn got? A bat? I mean, that's sort of ridiculous. So yeah. Anyway, it wasn't. I wasn't very good. And like I said, for me, I just felt like at least there was. I thought the bump off of Man of Steel in Batman v Superman was kind of cool, and I thought that there were enough aspects of that movie that I liked. That whereas this, I really didn't have hardly anything that I liked in Suicide Squad. So, but they're it's sort of a apples and oranges of badness. Neither one is a good movie. I gave them both. I think 2 or 2.5 stars. So I gave them both C minuses in my letter grades. Okay, so Justin says I want to see it this weekend, but packed with plans. And then Sausage Party was hilarious. I've heard mixed things. I feel like Sausage Party, it's a movie that you either thought was hilarious or you hated, one or the other. So 3 Frank F. Do you have any faith in Wonder Woman? I don't really trust him, especially after the Killing Joke. I know it's a different department or whatever, but the fact that anybody at Warner Brothers thought that that was an empowering movie for women just really makes me nervous, because that was just, I thought was so misogynistic and awful. I really didn't like it. And so, and you have the one of the creators, I guess at Comic-Con, someone asked him about it and the guy called him a pussy. It's just like, what is going on over there? And so yeah, Wonder Woman. I'm nervous. And also the fact that Patty Jenkins, I think is the name of the director, the fact that she loved Suicide Squad and was like, that makes me nervous too, because there were huge problems in the storytelling of that movie. So I don't know, but I'm hopeful, because I did like Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman. So I like seeing good movies, so I try to always be optimistic. But I'm skeptical at this point. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you still hopeful about Wonder Woman? Put in the comments section. Let me know, or in the chat. Let me know what you think. Let's see. Joe says here, and I thought Sony were the real jerks with how they were acting with Spider-Man, but at least they had the decency to work with Marvel, who have a clear set of goals. Shoot. Sorry, I just lost a clear set of goals with their franchise. Okay. Yeah, it's funny to me, because Warner Brothers always touts the fact that they are filmmaker driven company. I don't know if that really, yes, with Man of Steel, I think that pretty much bears to fruition, but certainly not with Suicide Squad. That's for sure. There's no way that movie wasn't heavily cut and mixed and messed with. So I don't know if I really buy that. And I think it's a little bit of an affront to sort of Marvel. Marvel has not, yes, you have to have, yes, the Edgar Wright thing happened, but that's because he wasn't willing to play ball at all in the MCU. And you have to be willing to at least play ball in the MCU. But they've had some pretty good filmmakers in the MCU. People act like that Marvel's never willing to take risks on a filmmaker. They have Ryan Coogler coming up, who just did Creed. They have Taika Waititi doing Thor Ragnarok, who's awesome. And I'm going to talk about one of his movies coming up. They've had Shane Black. They've had Kenneth Branagh. Jon Favreau was definitely a risk when they first got him. So they have taken risks, and they have had, the Russo brothers were definitely a risk. So I think that the idea that DC is so much more of an auteur company is a little bit ridiculous. Yes, they got Zack Snyder, but I don't think that that is, I need more proof, I guess. We'll see how they do with Patty Jenkins, but so far I need more proof to really buy that line that they toe. Let's see. So Frank F says, yeah, I saw Batman v Superman. which was a nightmare for me. It completely broke me, and it didn't bother seeing Suicide Squad unless it gets great word of mouth. Not seeing Wonder Woman, probably. Don't blame you. Don't blame you. Yeah, Batman v Superman. It was a definite miss. I think maybe part of it is that I'm just not as invested in Batman, so I wasn't as devastated about it as other people. Because honestly, I was more upset with what they did with Superman. I was so annoyed that they killed Superman. That made me so mad. Just because I felt like, we were just talking about it yesterday in my Star Trek podcast that in the Star Trek Nemesis they kill Data, but you know that they have this extra Data there the whole time. So the movie's asking you to feel this emotion about Data when the whole time you know it's not really real. And that makes me feel manipulated and irritated and annoyed. And that's what they did with Batman v Superman. Because I know it's not real. I'm not stupid. Justice League is coming. Superman will be part of it. So you're asking me to feel all this emotion when I know it's not real. And so that's why it really, really irritated me. But anyway, I don't think it's total trash like some people do. I see some value in it, but that ending really irritated me, and the Martha thing was ridiculous. I don't care what people say. I think it's nonsense. So he just says, what's your favorite movie ever? Because mine's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. My favorite movie, pretty much everyone knows, my favorite movie is Up. Because for me, that movie it's about dealing with regret in life, and learning to forgive yourself. And there's just something about the message and the music and the characters and everything and the spirit of adventure that I love. So Brandon says, I've really enjoyed Pete's Dragon. I like it more than the old version. I agree. I loved Pete's Dragon. I thought it reminded me of the movies of the past, your old Yellers, and movies like that. To me, it was true live action Disney magic. So, but also the other reason I love Up is because it makes me think of my grandpa, and my grandpa is my favorite person ever, and so it just makes me happy to think about him when I watch it. So, because I miss him very much. Justin says The Incredibles and Up are my favorite Pixar movies. Yeah, can't go wrong with that. My favorite Pixars are Up, Toy Story, and Inside Out and then Incredibles. Okay, so let's keep going. The next film I want to talk about is, and if you're just getting in the chat, I already talked about Pete's Dragon, loved that. The Shallows, solid. It's not great, but I enjoyed it. Kubo and the Two Strings, fantastic, amazing. The Florence Foster Jenkins, actually, I think subversive and interesting and better than you'd expect. Meryl Streep's amazing in it. The Lobster wasn't my cup of tea. Didn't really like it. And Cafe Society, the new Woody Allen, I loved. I really enjoyed it. So there you go, a little summary. So the next movie I wanted to talk about real quick is called The Hunt for the Wilderpeople. And this is by the upcoming director of, what's his name? He has a weird name. Taika Waititi, I think it is. That's how you say it. Taika Waititi. And he is going to be directing the new Thor Ragnarok. So you'll be hearing a lot of him coming up. And there we go. And anyway, so this is an interesting thing. This goes to a lot of, as far as expectations, because going into this movie, people had said this is the most hilarious movie you'll ever see. It is so funny. And so I was like, oh, good, because he did a movie called What We Do in the Shadows that I thought was hilarious. Very, very funny. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really funny. And so I was very excited. So I go see this movie, Hunt for the Wilderpeople, and I was a little bit disappointed. And not because it's not a good movie. It was a good movie, but I didn't really laugh. It's actually, to me, it felt more like a drama with just like moments of humor. So if I hadn't had that expectation of it being hilarious, I would have loved it, I think. But because I did, I was like, oh, I really wanted to laugh. And so, you know, that's just unfortunate, I guess, that I had that expectation. But it is a really sweet little movie about this man played by Sam Neill and this boy who is kind of his foster son, sort of, that end up in this wilderness in New Zealand, and they're kind of on the run, and they're kind of bonding together as they experience nature and a lot of different challenges and stuff. And it's really a sweet little movie. I just was expecting to be like laughing uproariously, and I didn't. So anyway, it's just sort of interesting. But if you get a chance to see it, I'd highly recommend it. It was very well made. The cinematography is beautiful. The performances are really good. And it's just a touching little story about this man and and his foster son getting to know each other a little bit better. So, okay. Then let's keep going. So let's talk about Ben-Hur. Any of you guys see Ben-Hur? So this was not as bad as people make it sound. I didn't think. I thought I could see some value in it. I thought the performances were pretty good. And Emily says, I love what we do in the shadows. Taika Waititi is the director for the new Thor. Yeah, I know. I'm so excited for that. Did you see the little Thor skit that they did with explaining why he wasn't in Civil War? If you haven't seen it, you got to check that out. It's hilarious. So that makes me even more excited for Thor Ragnarok, because that was really funny. And I bet you it'll be the funniest. It will be the funniest of all of the MCU movies. I'm calling it now. I think it'll be hilarious. So yeah, look it up. You'll love it. It's very, very funny. And he's like all the he's like Tony is he's like drama. It's like, that's one of his things. Anyway, you got to see it. So anyway, Ben-Hur. I thought the performances were pretty good, and it was solidly entertaining. I don't think it's a horrible movie. People exaggerate, and I think that the chariot race was pretty well done. But the problem is they made like a couple different key changes to the narrative that I thought really weakened it from the 1959 classic. Just little things like the motivation for Metzela. It's awesome. The name's slipping my mind. But the Masala, the motivation for Masala was weakened because in the 1959 movie, it's an accident, and Masala doesn't step in when he knows it's an accident, and he does it mindfully, knowing that it will if people in the town see that he's willing to turn against his friend, then they will respect him more and they will fear him more. So it's way more calculated and way more, whereas the way they do it here, it's kind of makes more sense. It's not as much an accident. And so you don't have the same like reason for Judah to be as angry with Masala and bitter as you do in the 1959 movie, which then kind of keeps the motivation throughout. And I thought they really messed up the leprosy angle, and so there were just a lot of narrative choices that they made that weakened it and just made it kind of a bland action movie. But I don't think it's like horrible. But yeah, see, Joseph didn't even bother with Ben-Hur, and I figured that people over-exaggerated the flaws simply because it was a remake. Yeah, I think that's fair. It is very shaky cam, so if you don't like that for the chariot race and some of the other scenes, so yeah, I think there was some definite hyperbole going on there with Ben-Hur. To me, it was just average movie. Okay, so let's keep going. I've got lots to talk about here. This is ridiculous. Okay, then we'll talk about a couple movies I'll just list off really quick that I doubt any of you have seen because they're all indies. but if you want to check them out, I highly recommend it. There's a film called Lo and Behold, The Reveries of the Connected World, and this is by the great documentary filmmaker Werner Herzog, and you can get this video on demand. It's a lot of fun. It's not one of his best documentaries, but it's all just about the internet and how we're losing sort of our personal connections with people, but in certain ways we're gaining certain connections that we never had before. And it's just an exploration of the internet. He's a very engaging interviewer, and it's a decent watch. You'll enjoy it. So Lo and Behold, check that out. It's been a very strong year for documentaries this year. Lo and Behold, I loved Presenting Princess Shaw was excellent. I loved Life Animated was great, and The Abolitionists I loved. So there's some really good documentaries that you should check out. Okay, so then another documentary that I saw is called Weiner, and it is about Anthony Weiner, the congressman, the former congressman that was trying to run for mayor of New York. And it was really crazy because I was watching the movie at home on demand, and as I was watching on my TV, there came up a new scandal about Anthony Weiner. While I was watching it, was just like, this guy is just such a narcissist, and it's really a documentary about their marriage, which now I guess is officially over. But and so you do really get it's interesting to see sort of not only about politics, but also about this couple and how they're kind of dealing with this complete narcissist amongst them. So, oh, yay! Joe says, I rented Princess Shaw on iTunes recently, and I'll be watching it pretty soon. Yay! It's so good. I loved that movie. It'll just make you feel good about the world. At least it did for me. So, yeah, Presenting Princess Shaw. Check it out. Yeah, I'm so excited. You'll have to let me know what you think. Okay, moving on to other films. I saw a movie called Southside with You, and this was about President Obama and Michelle and their first date. And I am a conservative. When I reviewed it on my channel, I wore my Romney shirt. And because that's the thing, it's interesting because I posted my review and I lost like 10 subscribers after that review. And it's just so funny because I don't know why, I don't know if I lost conservative, subscribers who didn't like that I was saying nice things about President and Mrs. Obama, or if I lost liberals who didn't like that I was wearing a Romney shirt. I don't know. But I don't agree with the president on pretty much any of his policies, but that doesn't mean I think he's a bad person and that I'm not interested in his life. And it's just a sweet little romantic comedy. If any of you are looking for any of you guys out there are looking for a good date movie, this would be a great one. It's very sweet, and I think their dialogue feels authentic. It feels well written. It feels like there was only one moment where I felt like they couldn't help themselves and be kind of preachy, and be sort of adoring of President Obama. But for the most part, I felt like what they would actually say and what they would be like on their date. And so I enjoyed it, even though I'm conservative. So there you go. I don't know why we have to turn people who think differently than us into an enemy. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. It's just someone who thinks differently. It doesn't mean they're bad. So Joe says, goes to show you how too sensitive people have become with politics. I can't even bring him up with my dad and his family since they hate Obama with a passion. Yeah, and it's sad. It really is. It really is. Okay, so then I saw The Light Between Oceans, and this is just released this weekend. It is based on a book, and it is a tearjerker set in the 1920s about this couple who end up finding this baby, and they decide to keep it even though they probably shouldn't. And it has sort of some of the tropes of like a Nicholas Sparks type story, but it's better acted, it's better written, and cinematography is so pretty. And I enjoyed it. I thought I made me cry at moments. I thought that Rachel Weisz was really good as the birth mother. And yeah, I think that my friends who are moms, I don't think they'll like it. but because it just hits a lot of those sensitive buttons for mothers. But it's not a masterpiece, but I liked it. It made me tear up, and I thought it had good performances, and so yeah. Okay. Almost, I've just got a few more here. Joe says, but I have to applaud you for being honest about how you feel about Obama despite your political views. And, oh, good. Emily says, I'm really looking forward to it. I loved the book. And it's interesting because the director, Derek Sinfrance, I think his name is, he loves this book. I guess he just like cried and cried and cried. And he was like, I have to make this movie. So I think, I haven't read the book, but I'm guessing that means that it's pretty accurate. So if you like the book, I'm guessing you like the movie. And yeah, it definitely is kind of stretched out more than it needs to be, but I liked the people and I didn't mind it. So yeah. Okay. So a couple more indies that I saw a movie called The Fits. Oh yeah, I cried so much when I read it. Yeah, take tissues. It is really sad, especially like I said, if you're a mom who's like lost a baby or something, or had a miscarriage. I told my friends, I'm like, be careful, it'll make you cry. But I saw a movie called The Fits, which definitely won't be for everyone. It does kind of feel like half a movie, and if you hate things where you don't get explanations and the movie just kind of ends, then you'll hate this movie. Because I liked it though. I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed it. It's about this girl who this black girl who just joins this dance troupe, and everybody in the dance troupe starts getting these seizures, and they're trying to like figure it out. And yeah, so the little girl is excellent, very good in it, and it's very well shot, and I didn't mind the open-ended ending, so that doesn't bother me like it does some people. Okay, and it's only, I think it's like 70 minutes. It's really short. Okay, then I saw Phantom Boy, which in my opinion is the best superhero movie of the year, and even though nobody will see it. It's an indie animated film you want to keep your eye out for. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets nominated for Best Animated Film, and it is about this boy who is sick, and he develops this superpower where he can get out of his body, and he meets this so it's really cool because it gives him the chance to sort of see what people aren't telling him, because his parents and everything tell him all the nice stuff so that he'll be strong, but then he gets out of his body, he can like see his mother crying, he can see this other side of it, and he meets this police officer who has injured, and he's looking into this mob boss named Broken Face. And Broken Face is a very like Dick Tracy kind of a villain. But the design is really cool. The whole design of the movie is very much like a Cubist Picasso kind of painting. It's really cool. And so they use this kid, Leo, his superpower to spy on Broken Face, so it can help Alex with the case since he's in hospital. And I just liked, it was so refreshing to have a movie that's just that movie, superhero movie, and it's just this story. And it's a superpower that makes sense and has like emotion behind it, because he like wants to be free from this hospital bed, and so whereas like a lot of them, it feels just kind of random, like here's this person's power and here's this person's power and here's this person's power. And so yeah, this one I'm so lucky because there's a theater near me. There's two theaters called the Salt Lake Film Society, Tower Theater, and the Broadway, that bring in these indie films. But I'm so excited because I just got approved with Phantom Boy with the company G Kids as a screener. So they are now going to be sending me their indie animated films to review in advance. So I'm so like, that's the coolest thing ever for me. Like, I've never been able to see screeners like that. So anyway, and I was so surprised because when I talked to them, because I just figured, what the heck, why not ask? So I did, and they were like, yeah, we totally watch your videos. I was like, really? Evidently, my April in the Extraordinary World, they watched it and they liked it. So I thought that was really cool. And so yeah, keep an eye out for it. It just look for it when it comes on demand. And The Phantom Boy, it's called. It's really good. And I also most of those like Weiner, The Fits, Lo and Behold, Hunt for the I don't know if Hunt for the Wilderpeople is in on demand yet, but The Lobster, all of those indie films, you can watch all of them video on demand. So that's where I watch most of them. Video on demand or at Salt Lake Film Society. So, and I have to drive like a good 35 minutes to get to Salt Lake Film Society, but it's worth it for me to see some of these special movies and to just get away from the blockbuster. So, okay, just two more that I saw. I saw the movie Morgan, and this was at a screening. This is available this weekend, and I didn't really like it. I thought it was really boring for the first like half. I fell asleep twice, and my brother kept having to like elbow me and elbow me. So that's not a good sign. And it was totally predictable. I didn't care about any of the characters, and some of the things like made no sense. Like there's a point where Morgan like starts to drive, and you're like, why in the world does she know how to drive? And she would like all of a sudden know how to use martial arts, and all of a sudden. And so, to me, it didn't work. It's one of my worst of the year, to be honest. Just because and to me that's a big blow. If I fall asleep in your movie once, that's not good. If I fall asleep twice, that's really bad. So, and the last movie that I saw is called Space Dogs: Adventure to the Moon, and this was a horrible movie, but an animated movie I just saw while I was waiting for Sully, and it's a Russian import, and it's got the worst dubbing I think I've ever seen of any movie. Like it didn't match the voices at all. But it's actually kind of weird, and I wasn't bored, oddly enough, and I was sort of entertained watching it because it's just so strange. But yeah, it's bad. I mean, I can't defend it in any way. So there's that. It's probably a lot better in the Russian. So that is it for my month. Do you guys have any other questions about any of these films? As far as my best of the month, I think my favorite of this month is Kubo and the Two Strings, with a close second to Pete's Dragon. And then my least favorite was probably, well, I guess Space Dogs. But oh, I forgot to talk about 9 Lives. How could I forget? 9 Lives, the Kevin Spacey cat movie. Oh my gosh. Yeah, how did that movie happen? I want to see a documentary about the making of 9 Lives. Barry Sonnenfeld, the director of Men in Black. What on earth? It was so ridiculous. Like it was pretty entertaining to watch as a bad movie. Like it's so good it's bad, but nobody was trying at all in this movie, and it wasn't funny. And you just think, Jennifer Garner, what is she doing in this? Like the whole time you're just Cheryl Hines. It's just really, really horrible, but hilarious at the same time. Joe says, Phantom Boy, from the sound of it, kind of reminded me of Unbreakable. Would you say that's the case, or have you not seen Unbreakable? Actually, I have not seen Unbreakable. It's on my Blind Spot series that I'm doing. I'm going to watch it in October for my blog. This month, for my Blind Spot series, I watched the Studio Ghibli film Porco Rosso, which was very fun. I liked it a lot. But I've heard, now that you mentioned it, about Unbreakable, that is somewhat similar. I just liked the fact that it was its own story, and I didn't have to know anything else. There was no extended universe, and it was just so pretty. So I really enjoyed it, and I thought it had big heart. So, Yeah, 9 lives. Just why? Why? I have no idea. It was so ridiculous. Yeah, I don't understand. So 9 lives was probably the worst movie that I saw. It's even worse than Space Dogs, even worse than Morgan for sure. So yeah, 9 lives was the worst one, even though I did kind of have fun. Like Morgan, I didn't even have fun. I was just super bored. Um, and as far as this summer, I'm curious what was your favorite movie that you watched this summer? If you have, and what was the worst movie you watched this summer? For me, my favorite would be Love and Friendship is my favorite. It's Jane Austen with Kate Beckinsale. And it was just so wicked and delicious and wonderful. And I loved the dialogue and I love the characters. And so that's actually my favorite movie of the summer. And then I also would say Pete's Dragon and Kubo were my 3 favorites of the summer. If I'm including April in the summer, then I would include Sing Street, which I know Emily saw. So I hope you liked it, but I just loved that movie so much. It made me so happy, and it continued to make me so happy. It's just, I love the music, I love the characters, I love the story, I love everything about it. And I did really enjoy Captain America Civil War. I thought that was very, very entertaining, and I liked seeing the growth of Tony and Steve as characters. So, yeah. Oh, good. You liked it. Yay. So Joe says, from what I've seen during the summer, Civil War is an obvious one, and people can hate it all they want, but I still love it after seeing it twice and can't wait to buy it on Blu-ray. Yeah, I really enjoyed Civil War as well. I think that it's a movie that I think you can tell a movie is a good movie when it makes other movies better. And I think that Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron are significantly better now that we've seen the ending of the story of Civil War. So, and I thought that the airport scene was great. I thought that Spider-Man was awesome. I was just thoroughly entertained by it. So, Brandon says, my favorite summer movies are Finding Dory, The BFG, Kubo and the Two Strings, and Pete's Dragon. Those are great. Those are all in my, well, BFG I was more mixed on. I liked it, but I felt like it wasn't as tight as Pete's Dragon and the storytelling. And so I kept asking questions that if it had been a little tighter, I might not have been asking. But I still liked it. It wasn't bad. But yeah, Kubo and the Two Strings, Pete's Dragon, Finding Dory is still in my top 10 for the year. So I really like that. And but anyway, so yeah, there's been, it's been a disappointing summer when it comes to a lot of blockbusters that people were looking forward to, but there's been a lot of really good indies. Sing Street, Love and Friendship. I mean, Pete's Dragon's not really an indie, but it felt like an indie. Kubo and the Two Strings. Some of these movies were some of the best of the summer. So definitely look for them. And you really, I think, will be rewarded. Presenting Princess Shaw, that was just excellent. And Phantom Boy, if you get a chance to see it, lo and behold. Yeah, and like I said, I liked Cafe Society, and I liked Hunt for the Wilderpeople, and I liked Florence Foster Jenkins. I thought was really pretty good, underrated. But if I had to pick my favorite, I would say of the summer, Love and Friendship, and Pete's Dragon and Kubo and the Two Strings are my 3 favorites. And then my least favorite of the summer, I'm going to say, is 9 Lives. 9 Lives and Killing Joke and I don't know, I guess Morgan, maybe, even though I don't know, maybe Suicide Squad. I didn't hate that. I don't know. So anyway, but it's been a fun summer, even with a lot of disappointments. So, but yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, then I guess we'll end this. But I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for getting on. I really have had fun. And let me know. Tweet me if you get to see any of these more obscure ones, and maybe I'll post a list of all the ones I talked about. so you can check those out. So. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your weekend. I hope you guys have fun on Labor Day. So, and I'm going to have my review of Newsies for Family Movie Night on Monday for Labor Day, because it's about labor unions, right? So, all right. Let me